Hi guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, stop what you're doing and hit the subscribe button. So I kind of just wanted to give a life update of where I've been. Whew. It's been a minute. I put some ice on you cause you gotta go. I know I gotta keep my shorty on go. Got that ass to the floor. I'm back, for sure. I had to decipher whether I wanted to stay in Nashville or move or just coast. Like, I had no clue what I was doing, what the freak I was doing. When they talk about college depression, that's a real thing. So like, let's just take a moment to spread an overall feeling of love to anybody in college or who've been in college and never got over it, because it's a lot. It's a thing that nobody talks about. So let's just take a moment. Okay, so honestly, I have been figuring out what I wanted to do and just kind of like where I wanted to be. So in the moment, in the past moments that I was living in Nashville after college, I started working at a vintage shop, dopest shop ever. Shout out to Music City Vintage. Y'all need to check out Music City Vintage if you ever go to Nashville or live in Nashville, whatever. It's fire. So I worked there. I was working there and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I was just taking some time to myself. And I was just kind of like on that team, and that was an amazing process. So that's kind of where I was like at a lot. I was working there a lot, and I just put a lot of time into that, just working there. And then, you know, I went home and I was just like always like vibing to myself for the most part. Saw my friends barely sometimes. But then I realized like I wanted to change. So I decided to move to Jersey. So I now live in New Jersey and I moved here this week actually. You've probably already seen my moving vlog, but yeah, I moved here and it's definitely already been great. Like every day that I'm waking up very happy. Like, wow, like I feel much more refreshed, you know. I think moving was something I had always wanted to do. I remember wanting to go away to college, maybe go to college in New Jersey, just because I was from New Jersey. So I was like, let me go there. And so I finally ended up moving, and you know, I don't know what's next. Like, I don't know where I'm gonna end up next. I don't know. Nothing is set in stone, but I definitely feel happy that I was finally able to move and kind of get away. And I started looking at myself much more in like a more open light, if that makes sense. Like, I realize I am able to travel. Like, I realize I am able to hop on a flight and go somewhere if I want to go somewhere. You know what I mean? I think I kind of felt like I don't think I can do that, or I don't think I can go here, I don't think I can go there. So that kind of stopped me from moving, because I felt like, well, maybe I just need to stay here, or what if this doesn't happen right, or what if that doesn't happen right? And I think the reason I had so many limiting beliefs on myself is because I never saw like, I knew I had an idea about the bigger picture. Like, I've always talked about a bigger picture. I always talk about the future, but I had never made it just like so big and make it happen for myself. So I kind of started to doubt myself. And when you're not like instilling a consistent message in your life and actually going after it and actually proving to yourself and not just having the ideas, then that's when you lose your ideas, and that's when you kind of start to not believe in them as much. So I definitely went through that the past few months of just like not thinking it was possible anymore to make my dreams, quote unquote, come true. Because I had always been a believer that anything that you want or anything that you think you can become, right? And everything is accessible to you. I still believe that 100% to this day, but it was scary because I didn't think that the past few months. And I was like, I started to kind of feel it and believe it. And I was like, whoa, like I have to do something about this. So I set myself up to, really, oh my God, like I was like trying so hard to kind of really bring myself out of my sadness to have the courage to move. And I'm not saying it was easy. I didn't do it alone. Like my family was a big help in that. My friends were a big help in that, kind of just being like, you need to shake it off. And YouTube was a big, big help in that. Like, a lot of the girls that I followed, I realized that because all the girls that I follow, for the most part, they live very luxurious lifestyles. Not that they didn't start out that way. They started out, like a regular, I don't say a regular person, but they started out like obviously minimal resources, minimal this, minimal that. And then now I see that they're living in homes that they've purchased themselves and like all these big things. And of course, like I believe that I can have that for myself too. But when I stopped believing it, it was kind of scary, which kind of made me feel like, I don't want to watch that, or I don't want to watch these girls' videos, because it just kind of felt like unrealistic to me, quote unquote. But I was never a realist. I was more so always very optimistic and very much like a visionary. So I kind of was sad about myself that I had let myself feel a little bit down. But through the whole journey and process of me just like understanding that this is not who you are, this is just somebody who you had become in very recent days and somebody you didn't recognize, it took for me to click on just one girl's video and be like, oh my gosh, like, okay, I like this one thing that she's saying in this video. Okay, let me watch another part of the video, or let me watch a different video. And then I started to kind of like build myself back up again and realize like there's always hope, there's always a way, there's always a way you can really make your dreams come true, or your life, or whatever you imagine your reality. So I honestly believe for so long, because I was thinking about New Jersey so much, so adamantly, and like I want to say manifesting and really talking to the universe, talking to God, and like actually putting everything out on paper and like vividly seeing it, and I actively followed like so many people from New York, so many people from Jersey, so many people from Philly. I didn't know these people, but that's what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to see it so I could try to feel it in my mind, feel it out, and then make it more real for myself. Like when I had went to New York right before COVID hit in March of 2020, I bought like a New York keychain, and I always had this New York keychain on, and I was like, yes, like New York, New York, New York. And I knew like moving to New Jersey would help me see myself in New York maybe, or help me see myself anywhere else, because of course when anybody thinks of New York, you think of like, whoa, big city, big this, big that, the city that never sleeps, you know what I mean? So I feel like for somebody who lived in the South, like Tennessee, Nashville is very big city to a lot of other people too. People who don't live in Nashville, they look at Nashville like, oh my gosh, like this big country city, which it is. And so I kind of looked at like, oh, like the grass is green over there, and so far the grass has been green over here, you know what I mean? And I think for anybody who's looking to move but like scared of that leap, just know it's very possible. What helped me too, and kind of just like transitioning into my move, or like understanding that, okay, no, you are gonna move, I just started to, just like reach out to people and talk to other people who had already made that move. I had a coworker when I worked at Music City. She had just moved into town, and she was like, I'm the happiest I've ever been, I'm the this, I'm the that. And I was always like, wow, like I love that, you know what I mean? And it was really inspiring just hearing that she was so new to town, and that she genuinely like loved, just a new scenery, that motivated me. And even talking to people sometimes at the shop, like I remember talking to this one guy, he was like, yeah, I was in the hospital, and like he was like, I felt like I was gonna die, like all these crazy things. And then he was like, the week after I recovered, he was like, I got my stuff and I moved to Nashville, and I've never looked back since. And it was just so cool to see that he genuinely felt that, you know what I mean? He was like, yeah, like it's been 5 months and so far things have been good and this and that and that. And obviously, like, I'm not saying things are ever going to be perfect, but it was always inspiring to learn something and like just hear perspectives from people who had done exactly what you want to do. And I think that's kind of the beauty in people and the beauty in community. When you start to want to learn and you want to start to hear stories and, just talk to people from experience who have experience or who have been in shoes that you want to be in, it just made my life much more real, and it made me envision, like, well, first of all, open my eyesight back up to the visions that I had, and then just envision so much larger and so much bigger, and then start to piece together and slowly put together some type of plan to how I want it to be, or to where I want it to be, or who I want to be, right? And it did help that, it helps that, my family, they're very big thinkers, big thinkers, very, like, very confident, very entrepreneurial spirit, very, okay, if this happens, like, we're gonna figure it out, very, I'm gonna plan it and we're gonna do it. And so, it was one of those things that I was like, okay, I know I'm capable of this too, regardless of if anybody doesn't feel like I should, or regardless of how life just likes to take its own course, do whatever. I knew that, like, this is something I need to do for myself. It's just something I need to do in that moment. So it really felt good to make that decision for myself. And luckily, I do have supportive people in my life where it was like, you know what? Just do you know what I mean? And since deciding to move, it's been like just such a great journey mentally, just to see like that I do have access to the world. Like, I know it kind of seems small, like just moving from Nashville to New Jersey, but I remember I started purging my clothes like a few months before, and like I was like, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. And then one day, I went to Goodwill with my brother and I packed up like this big blue bin, and I literally donated everything. Like, I blindly gave away so much stuff, and it felt so good to, one, obviously get rid of the things, but it also felt good to kind of just give. Like, at first I was like, oh, I could sell this and I could sell this and I could make profit, but then I was like, these are some actually good quality pieces that some of those pieces I had only worn once or twice, and I was like, I want to give this, because I had been feeling like if you help the universe and you put good things out there, good things are going to come back. So I've kind of been like, I've always lived with the mindset that anything that I put out is going to come back to me. And of course that can kind of be like that can kind of sound selfish, but at the same time I was like, you know what, I just want to do this for myself and to help myself and to help other people. So it was kind of like a win-win situation, where when I fast forwarded to when I was packing up my car, all my belongings fit perfectly in that same little blue bin that I just emptied out. All my belongings fit perfectly in there. Packed up my little car and brought my friend along and got on the road, and like, we got there in one day. We left at 4 a.m. and we made it to Jersey by 6 p.m. and it was such a smooth drive. And along the road, like along like the drive and everything, like random things, not just like the number signs, but like random billboards and random this and random that were like 222, 333, 555. Like, those were the three angel numbers that we kept seeing. And just even thinking about it is so emotional. But I was like, whoa, wow, like we're safe, like we're good. And we prayed together in the car, and it was just so easy. It just felt so easy. It felt so easy, if that makes sense. Like, it felt like I'm actually capable of anything. It made me realize that nothing is too hard to reach. And it made me realize that, like, if you have a will, there's a way. Like, if there's a will, there's a way. That is a true saying. Like, I was dedicated to come out here and I did it, you know what I mean? And just the fact that at first it did seem like, I don't know if I can do it. Just because, you know, you're as a young adult, excuse me, a lot of us are very still dependent on our parents and very still, like, holding on to that crutch. Granted, I still do have, like, family out here and everything, which is a blessing, but just more so that crutch in a way that is like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if this is what I should do. But I think when we take more leaps and we're more brave in where we want to be or where we want to do, I think it kind of shapes us more, because it shows us that we can just stretch beyond the box that we put ourselves in. I feel like some of us, we put ourselves in our own boxes because, you know, we believe that we're this type of person. But sometimes we never know how far we can be pushed until we actually are in a space to where we have to push ourselves. So I think that that has been kind of one of these moments. So all in all, I have been very appreciative of this newfound space that I'm in. And now I'm just kind of going with it and literally taking life one day at a time. And I also started to realize, like, in my 20s too, like, I don't have to have this major pressure on myself to necessarily be with somebody. I feel like as a young woman, I put that big pressure on myself. Like, I want to have a boyfriend, I want to do this, I want to do that. Just like through talking to all of my guy friends. Like, I have a good amount of guy friends. My bosses, they were two guys who were like who were not just in relationships, but like married and, like, you know, have families with, which is such a beautiful thing. And you know, they're very wise, and, you know, they kind of just always talk to me, like, whenever I was like complaining about, like, oh, like, this boy did this and that, you know, talking to guys, it does kind of make you realize, like, or having a friendship with guys, excuse me, does make you realize, like, okay, maybe I just need to calm down a little. Like, maybe I need to relax, you know? But because obviously, like, only, like, I have a good amount of girlfriends too. So when you talk to your girlfriends and they feel just the same way, like, why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he doing that? It's like, Jesus, like, that's all we can think about sometimes. And so just learning from, like, a guy's perspective and a girl's perspective, like, the dynamic that, or the relationship that we do have with one another, and even talking to adults, like, and I was talking to my stepmom and my aunt, they made me realize even more, like, just being in your 20s is supposed to be, like, you know, when you're early 20s especially, like, you're growing, like, you don't know yourself completely, like, you're learning. So of course, vice versa for men and young men, like, some of their, what does it call it? What's that word? Some of their, I guess, views on life and, like, their responsibilities that they feel like they have in that moment are not necessarily always to, like, a young woman. And that's okay, because we don't have to feel so that we, like, owe each other so much when we're so young. And that's kind of the, you know, journey that I've been on. Now, of course, like, dating, like, I'm gonna always be open to dating. Like, I realized too, I don't need to be like, I'm not dating right now because I need to focus on myself and my career and da. Like, of course I need to focus on my career. Of course I need to focus on myself. But I can do that all while simultaneously working. If I am just open to dating, because it's like, just because eventually I'm gonna be dating, having a boyfriend, right? But I'm not gonna just be like, oh, now that I'm with a boyfriend, I don't have to work on myself. That's not real. And I wouldn't expect that from the other person either. I hope you would continue to work on yourself as you're with a partner or whatever. So I don't think that we should, especially when we're young, ever be like, I'm not gonna have a moment where I'm not dating. Unless you genuinely just don't care to. I don't think we have to be so hard on ourselves, like, like, I'm not supposed to date, I'm not supposed to do this, I'm not supposed to do this, because it's like, we're young, these are our life experiences. You don't get any days back, and it's like, everything in your life just shapes you. So I've been focused on just not fighting what's naturally out there for me. Like, I've just been kind of going after what I want and being open to new possibilities. That's definitely been, like, the general consensus of my life right now. And ever since I kind of had this newfound realization about, you know, the woman I want to become within the next 6 months, and the woman that, or the things that I want to have and the goals that I have for the next 6 months or for the next year, I'm starting to look at them much more like it's possible. Anything that I want is possible. And that's just really through, you know, determination and internal confidence. That is a forever evolving thing and journey. Just having that confidence within myself, and also just really not comparing my life experiences to anyone else's in a negative or positive way. Now, of course, in life, like naturally, especially as girls, like we compare. Like that's what we're gonna do. You can't tell us nothing else. But it has been really, I guess, beautiful to kind of take a step back and be like, no, like this is my story, you know what I mean? And everybody has their own story, and that's completely okay. So all in all, you know, I've just been coasting, going with the vibes, as me and my homegirl like say, we vibing it out, grinding it out, okay? And it's been great. So yes, that's kind of where I've been, guys, and that's where I've been at mentally, and this is where I'm at physically. And yeah, so if you like anything about what I was talking about today, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.